Oh, welcome back to Prof. E Plays. I'm Prof. E, and we are here picking up with Wilbur, Orla, and crew to figure out what's the next thing they're going to do. Right, so I have here, I actually finally drew up kind of a floor plan. I'm not worried too much about kind of the exterior shape of the thing, but we have the general, I guess the general floor plan here, both the kind of the lower engineering deck and also the upper deck as well. Uh, Nothing particularly fancy here as far as that goes, but I figured, if they're going to be on this for a few months, we may as well have some sense of anything about it. Let's be honest. Okay. I also have here, this is uh, our mission calendar. We can see right now it is a 6-month mission. We have to return to our point of origin within 6 months. Right now we are a little over half of the first month is done. Now remember, I'm doing the 28-day month just to make life easier. I guess one more thing I want to show. Oh yes, here it is. Just two more things to remind ourselves of kind of how things are looking. So here is this is the subsector that we are exploring. It is, as far as we know, uninhabited. There may be intelligent alien life, possibly. But as far as we know, it is uninhabited. Right now, we are at 102 right here, so Mucoria 102. And in that system, we have something that looks kind of like this. There are no gas giants, however, there are a bunch of asteroid belts. However, it turns out the closest thing, right, to the star is actually the main world. That's it. Right. So since we decided to come in the inner system, we were rather surprised to find there's really not much of an inner system. So that is why we've been exploring this rock-ish world. It's kind of an odd world in that there is no atmosphere, but there is a significant amount of water there. So it's kind of an odd classification. But in any case, we have been exploring survey targets there. We do have 3 survey targets. Last time we explored this impact crater with rich mineral content. This time we're going to either explore another recent impact crater or perhaps this lava plain, one of those two. Maybe both. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right. In any case, that is what we're doing. So we are using the uh, solo supplement from Zoser Games, and we are using as our base rule set. While the Zoser supplement is technically designed for Traveler, I am using Zoser's own Cepheus Universal rules because that's what I have. Right, so we are doing the Scout campaign at this point, which this one I bought it as a PDF, so I just printed it off for those that are aware. All right, so the way the Scout campaign works is a quick reminder. We are in a subsector which is, as far as we know, largely unexplored, and we are just kind of going from system to system, trying to gather any kind of interesting um, information about that system. That's the idea, right? So right now, we have our general goal. You get a certain number of survey points for surveying a system, and generally speaking, it is advised that you try to get about 10 survey points, right, from a particular system, and you may move around within that system. So right now we are in the inner system. It's going to be quite a jump for us to get to the outer system. Go to where you can see that. Right. It's going to be a bit of time for us to get to the outer system. So I'm trying to survey, I want to try to get about 10 survey points. At this point, I've got 4, right? So I'm not quite halfway there, right? So let's go ahead and continue with our next survey system, no, our next survey location. So it says we've made the 3 rolls. We decided which survey targets to investigate, and we've decided the order. So we're going this one first. All of these are on alpha, so this one first. Then the next one is going to be this impact crater, and then finally the lava plains. Okay. And calculate travel time to the. Oh, we're already at the first planet. Roll for non-passenger ship event. Okay. Now at this point, right, we are actually having to move from one part of the planet to another, right? So there is going to be a little bit of time involved there, but I don't think it's going to be enough for us to really worry about it. And I'm just going to take a quick look. Here we have a I believe it's a 2G. Yeah, 2G is our maneuver drive, what it's capable of. Yeah, it's not going to be any meaningful time. I mean, we can move 1.6 million kilometers in about 4 or 5 hours. So I'm going to say it's just not meaningful. how much time it's going to take for us to get there. All right, so I'm not particularly worried about that. What I am worried about is this non-passenger ship event. So we do want to roll for that. So our non-passenger ship event is a D66 roll, so let's go ahead and roll for that. Got a 65. Okay, 65 tells us Captain runs a crew training session. See the shipboard training table. Huh. All right, well, let's see what kind of training we're doing. That's a total of 8, and this is so it's power fluctuation. All right, so apparently our captain, which would be also our pilot Sonia, has decided that we really need some training before we go back out. So as we are, I'm going to say this is kind of while we are moving from one to the other, put some autopilot on or something like that. She is training how to deal with power fluctuations. That's fair enough. Okay. So that is that. Next up then, got that, and our next thing, according to our checklist, at the landing site, we roll for the survey duration, and then next we roll for a survey problem. So how long is it going to take for us? Oh, I want to pull up my pen. There it is. So I want to, so 8, one, no, that's not 8. Okay. There we go. So we're going to survey, um, this is 0102 alpha. And this is another impact crater. And we did power fluctuation training. Got that down. All right. Next thing we need to do then, let's check how long it's going to take for us to do this. So, starting the survey, how long is this particular survey going to take? Oh, wait. First, we need to know how close can we land to a target. Well, that's what my roll of 1 was. So it's a kilometer away. That's not too bad. We could take an ATV, except we don't have one. There's definitely not room on the ship for it. So instead, sorry, the one who actually has a vac suit. Although I was actually reading part of my reading is I like to read through some of the books for the games that I'm running and playing and the like. It turns out that the ship's locker on a standard starship will actually have vac suits in it. I'm going to say because this vac suit, this starship was given to us, it had basically been stripped from of everything but spare parts, more or less. So the only vac suit we have is the one that Hazel personally owns and brought with her. I suspect that when we get back and cash in our points for money, we're going to be investing in some vac suits if we're going to plan to do anything like these types of missions again. Right. So in any case, let's continue with what's happening here. Right. So she's going to have to take a little bit of time to walk a kilometer. Kilometer's not that far. We're talking, since I'm an American, like a half mile. It's not bad. Right. Even across kind of rough terrain, it shouldn't be awful for her. Okay. In terms of the amount of time that it's going to take, 1d6 here, it's going to take, oh, just 12 hours. So this is just a little day trip. Right. So this won't be too bad. If I pull out my calendar, all right, so I'm just going to go ahead and mark off the next day, because that's how long it's going to take to do the thing. Okay, so this particular survey, though, is going to run into a problem. What is that problem? 53. 53 is a scientific puzzle, either geological, chemical, or biological, depending on the planetary environment. Must be solved before the survey can be completed. So this is something that is done either with science or with education. This says, well, the uh, let's look a little bit at our dear friend Hazel, who's the one that's out there. Good news, she's reasonably educated. Now, she's not a scientist. Remember her training, she was actually a merchant before she decided to leave that, muster out, and now got caught up in kind of this freelance scouting, right, for the Scouting Association. Right, so I'm thinking about this one. So it's hitting, now, to me, it makes sense this would be like a chemical or geological problem. There's no atmosphere, right? So It's probably not going to be biological, right? So I'm going to say that she runs into some kind of um, geological problem she has to solve. I think that like as she's walking, right, she's coming into an area that is definitely unstable, and we know there's a recent impact crater. I'm going to say that like the surface of the planet is not entirely sure here at this point, and it's particularly precarious because there is water on this planet. Right, so there's at least the possibility of water coming in, rushing in, filling the crater. She needs to be careful about how she's approaching getting into the crater and doing the survey itself. So I think that's really what's going to be happening here. Now, she can use then her knowledge from her education. She does have a +1 on education to try to solve this problem. It will require a total of 8 in order to solve it successfully. Total is 6, 7. So that is not a success, I believe. I will double check just to make sure. Um, yeah, that's not a success. How does team? Wait a minute. Oh, okay. All right. So that's what happens. So because we failed that roll, what I'm going to take that to mean is one thing, she has destabilized the edge of this impact crater. So now the water is from the ocean surrounding is just rushing in, right? So this is going to be a problem. It's going to take longer, one, for us to survey the thing. So we do have to move one step up there. That's from 12 hours to 24 hours. Meaningfully, I'm not going to say that means I need to cross off another um, day because it's basically one day either way. So I'm not particularly worried about that. So this does mean the information we gather is not going to be as valuable as a lot of it is now underwater, right? So what we're going to do to get our number of survey points, we roll a d6 and then subtract 2 because of the failed survey problem roll. Right, so let's see what we've got. We rolled spectacularly, so it turns out we still got, right, 4 survey points. There. And then she makes her way back to the ship about, a kilometer away. Right. Now, at this point, we haven't yet gotten our full 10 points, so I think we are going to go ahead and we are going to check out that last location, that is the lava plain, uh, with some recent lava flows there. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to hop into the ship and we're going to move over to this other location. As we do that, that does mean that we are going to need. Oh, wait. I almost forgot something. We need to roll for reaction. So, is there some kind of crew reaction that we need to respond to? 5 indicates the answer is yes. We need 8 or higher to avoid any kind of negative reaction. So, let's go ahead and find out what that might be. If I can find the right sheet. That's the trick, isn't it? There it is. Okay. Right, so we've destabilized an impact crater. I'm guessing somebody's probably not going to be happy about that. Right, let's go ahead and roll for first what the reaction is a d6. 2. 2 indicates panic or anxiety. Right, and let's see who it is. So, number 4 in our list of people, let's see. Wilbur, then Hazel, then Sonia, then William. So it is our engineer is apparently feeling panicked about it. So here's the question. What kind of relationship does William have with Hazel? We don't actually know. We have no relationship at all defined between them. Now, at this point, they've known each other for a few weeks. I mean, they've actually been on this mission for a couple weeks. So I think this is long enough. They've established some kind of relationship between the two. So I'm going to go ahead and roll for that relationship. It is a 56. The 56 means they're inseparable buddies. So I think that's what's going on. Right? So I think that William, when he hears about what has happened, and I'm guessing the kilometer again, not that far away, but they can tell in the sensors that this thing is destabilized. So I think that is what he's panicking about, right? So he is really worried that his friend, some just mark here, these are inseparable buddies. He is worried about her, uh, justifiably, I think, possibly being hurt or whatever. And so I think that he's going to be very nervous about the fact that, honestly, because vac suits are somewhat personal, she's going to be the one that has to do these things on any kind of planet where we have, you know, a lack of atmosphere. We have survival masks. We have that, maybe not for everybody, but we have several of them so they can send multiple people on those types of missions. But as long as we're somewhere with a vacuum, this is what we're stuck with. Right? As long as the atmosphere is such that it is not breathable with with a survival mask, which in this particular system, when I look, every single atmosphere either is lacking entirely, so we have zeros, zero, 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 or right, is not at all survivable. Right, so that's what the A's would be. I think that's a corrosive, if I recall correctly, a corrosive atmosphere. Right, so these are all just awful places, which means absolutely, absolutely, we need to have somebody in a vac suit. It has to be Hazel. So I think he's very anxious about the fact that she is going to be continuously being put in danger as long as they are here. Now, it's not really within his power to do much about it because he's the engineer, he's not the pilot, he's not the captain, he's not going to be making lots of choices about it. But he's anxious. He's anxious about this. All right, so we are now moving again from where we are. I'm going to go ahead and finish up this survey, and then I think we'll call that. So we're going to go and survey the lava plain. It's 34 is our non-passenger ship event. 34, cargo container explosion and chemical fire. Well, good news. We don't actually have any cargo, so I'm going to go ahead and say there was not actually an event that time. All right, so and it's not a very long, not a very big distance, right? So a couple hours, we fly to the new destination. I'm going to say without incident because we don't have cargo to explode. I mean, it's true. We just there's no space on the ship for a cargo hold. All right, so we have another survey mission. So when we get here, how close can we get? Are we close enough that it's basically right there? Five would be a yes. So this one we can actually land right here on this lava plain, close enough, right, that we don't have to worry about any kinds of travel or anything like that across this distance. All right, so that's good. How long is it going to take to survey this? So we're within 500 meters, so that's really close. And let's see. It's another short one, right? So another just 12-hour survey. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and cross off one more day on my calendar between travel and all of that, getting there. All right, so what kind of survey problem does Hazel run into this time? Okay, it's 64. 64. Oh, well, things might get. Um, I'm just saying William may possibly be very justified in his anxiety. Because the survey problem here is the death of a PC. Now, technically, I could roll and see which PC it might be. It's obvious to me. There's only one PC that can go outside. Everybody else is inside. So unless there actually is a fire happening here on the ship, Hazel's the one, right, who may possibly die. Now, we do get a roll. The roll says 8 plus to avoid. So let's see if we can avoid this. If not, this is going to have radical implications. And not just for people being sad, but also, one, she's like the one who's really good at navigation for us. Um, so we're going to be a little bit dodgier in terms of any navigation rolls we're doing from here on out. Um, I mean, honestly, I would probably be very, very tempted just to scrub the mission at that point if she dies. We'll need to seriously reevaluate things. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Does she die? 8 or higher, she's okay. If not, yeah, 9. We managed to avoid it. So I think what happens here is that there is and like lava flows are not entirely predictable, but they're also not very fast. But I think that there is a bit of a scare here at some point, right? Maybe like the heat. I think it makes sense the heat would like do some damage perhaps to her vac suit. She's out just a little bit too long, or it's a little bit too close, right? The conditions aren't quite right. She something gets caught on something. Right? So there's a little bit of damage to her vac suit that does endanger her. But she does manage, right, to patch things up in time and to get back to the ship so that she does end up okay. Right. So again, this is something that is probably going to be anxiety inducing. Do we have another reaction? Yes, we do have another negative reaction. And what is that reaction? One. One indicates seeking solace. Okay, so a character is overcome by guilt, fears, loneliness, remorse, guilt, fear, loneliness, remorse, or simply retreats to a regular addiction. Drugs or alcohol may be used. Character withdrawal, both physically and socially, because it's threatening mission. Perhaps threatening the mission at hand. Character with persuade, carouse, or decent social score might be able to make a skill roll to help the character. Else the player can roleplay this out. Well, you know what? I think it actually is. So this is I'm changing spotlights now. So we've seen Hazel. Hazel's in danger, and I think right now this is something that is going to have an impact, not necessarily on William, who has already kind of dealt with a little bit of this anxiety, but I think that this is actually going to have an impact on Wilbur. Because Wilbur already has lost somebody close to him. And while Wilbur and Hazel, I mean, they may not have particularly close relationship. Nonetheless, he is secretly in love with her as well. So I think he's the one this time that is really concerned about her well-being, and uh, and the fact that again she's putting herself in danger. And now remember, he actually did try to take her place on the first walk that they did. And so I think that he really doesn't like the fact that she is continuously being put in danger because of the way things are running in terms of where they are. So I think probably when it comes to where they go next, I think that um, I think that Wilbur's going to make the case they should go somewhere that more than just Hazel can go out of the ship. Or they need to find somewhere where there is an atmosphere that is potentially not going to be entirely corrosive. Now, whether they can find that within a reasonable jump distance, that's another question. But I think that that is a case that he is going to try to make. And I suspect other people will be on board with this, especially William, knowing that he is friends with Hazel. He's seeing her being put in danger regularly as well, right? So, looking at the group that we have, right, Heidi doesn't particularly have any connection with anybody at this point. Sonia actually, like, her biggest connection was with Evangeline, who has also left, where she decided that she didn't want to continue on this mission, right? So at this point, right, Hazel is in some ways when I look at my relationship map. Here we go. I'll actually show you. So this is the relationship map that I have drawn. Right. So we have the original three here, right, in their triangle. Right. Garrett is no longer with us. Right. Then we have Wilbur secretly loves Hazel. We have Hazel was romantically involved with Evangeline. Right. Hazel and William are uh, inseparable buddies now we have established. Billy's gone. Heidi is new here, and she hasn't really established relationships with anybody. She's really not spent a lot of time with people at this point, right? So, like, Hazel is kind of at the center, and I think that's going to give that group, specifically these three, when they make the case, they need to go someplace that more of them can be involved. Uh, I think that's going to be convincing. It's also probably going to mean that we're not going to stay in the system very much longer. But let's find out how many points we got from that expedition before we then decide where we're going to go next. One. So, not ideal. Total of 9 survey points there. Oh well, that's what it is. Okay, next up. Finalize. You decide whether to stay in the same star system and scan for more targets, perhaps moving to another location in the system, or jump to the next world on the survey route. When the player is satisfied with the survey route results, jump to the next star system on the survey route, total all the survey points earned in the star system just surveyed, and return to arrival. All right. So what we need to do then Okay. All right. So I guess that means we're going to be moving somewhere else next. Now, at this point, remember okay, we have a 2 parsec radius in which we can jump. So we came in here, right? So that was our first jump. Now, our next jump, where do we want to go to? That's a good question. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out what we know about each of these places and see if any of them has something where you can actually survey it with just without having to need a vac suit. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out my big book here. This is Cepheus Universal, which I bought as a PDF, but I don't like dealing with PDFs, so I printed the thing off. Now let's see if I can find where my world creation stuff is. Oh, there it is. World creation. I want to see which atmospheres are actually going to be potentially breathable. Okay. All right. Now it says you need a vac suit for uh, A, B, C. I'll need vac suits for 0 and 1. So actually, as long as we're between 2 and 9, a survival mask, or not even that, if it's just a slightly thin or slightly dense atmosphere, not tainted, then we're okay, right? Which means then we have actually lots of places that we could potentially go, I think, right? So what is within striking distance? So a 101, that one, when we look at that one, it's a 2. So survival mask will be necessary. There's no water there, but that's fine because we have the gas giants there. So actually, if we go here, I think that might be a reasonable thing to do. I think my plan was originally we're going to try to like jump further in and then kind of work our way back to kind of this linear thing, jump way out rather than try to do a loop. Um, so let's try to look at what else we can do. So if I wanted to try to jump as far as I could this way and then work my way back slowly, the biggest jump that I can make. So I can jump from here to here, 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 here. So this one would get me the furthest away in kind of a linear fashion. So 0303, what do we know about that one? 303, it's a really big planet. It's 6. 6 is good. Yeah, six is actually a standard atmosphere. That's ideal. So we can just walk out there, and there's a bunch of water. This looks awesome. Okay, so why don't we do that? Right, so we're going to jump to 0303. That is our next stop. Okay. All right, so I'm going to put it here. So that's our next jump. All right, so at the very least, we know when we get to the main world at 0303, things will be fine, right? So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to make this jump here. Okay. I'm not really requiring us to roll for this, but we do need to mark off the week that we're going to spend in hyperspace. Okay. So week in hyperspace, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're coming up toward the end of this month. All right. Let's see what we can do with that then. Kind of excited about this one. Okay. Anything else that I need to do before that? I guess it might make sense since we were traveling through space. I mean, I was looking at the checklist, and it's not the right checklist. All right. Now, it says to roll on starport encounters, but we're not in starport. Take a flight at the jump point, roll for a space encounter, but we're where there won't be encounters, because remember, space encounters are ships. We're in an area that is not occupied by ships, right? So we would not have that. Enter jump space for 1 week. We just did that. Now, okay, we do need to roll for a non-passenger ship event and make a crew reaction roll. So let's go ahead and do that again. So this would be what we're finishing up with. Non-passenger ship event this time. Let's see what it is. 56. 56 on this one. Crew entertainment evening. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. And is there any kind of negative reaction to that? There shouldn't be. Seven. There is. So somebody is not happy with. Okay, six. That's nobody. Six again. Four. Okay. William, for whatever reason, is not happy with crew entertainment night. So why in the world would he? It's just crew entertainment night, man. What's the problem? Okay, I'm thinking about him. He is selfish. He's focused on reward. Okay, what kind of reaction does he have? Because it's weird that he would have this kind of reaction, but he can be weird sometimes. All right. One, he's seeking solace. Oh, okay, that's it. So he just doesn't like the noise of it. Right. So here's the problem. Right? So I can understand the problem now. Right. So I think he's been kind of stressed out, as many people are, because Hazel keeps putting herself in danger. Right? And there's really not a lot of space on this ship. Because you see, a lot of it's taken up, almost half the ship space is fuel, because frankly, I picked a really inefficient type of M drive, right? So it takes a lot of fuel. For some reason, I have a fusion reactor M drive instead of an anti-grav M drive. I don't know why I did that, but I did. So that's where we are. So we have lots of fuel space, right? Which means that basically, right, we have our cabins here, which are shared, of course, and then we have as well, right? The bridge is taking up a good chunk, like almost a quarter of the ship is the bridge because it has to be a certain minimum size, even if it's a small ship, right? So there's some space here, kind of the front of the bridge. I'm imagining there are computer consoles, there are places that people sit at their stations, right? So we have the pilot, the navigator, the engineer, the medic, and then just kind of extra spot. And then this space I decided is kind of what they use as a mess or meeting space. So my thought is when they do the entertainment night, it's all happening here, which means then there's really not anywhere for somebody to go if they don't want to participate, right? So yeah, I guess you can go back to your room, which would be somewhere back here, but these are not like super thick walls or anything. So I'm guessing that that's what's happening is that he doesn't want to be part of this right now. He has been under stress. He just kind of wants some alone time, and he's feeling put upon by that. So I don't think this is anything really severe, but nonetheless, he is again separating himself from the rest of the crew this way. So I think that is what's going on there. All right. So thank you for tuning in. Until next time, when we hop over into 0303 and find out what's there, this is Prof. E, signing off.